poison lifeline. But they're not the only creatures struggling in this harsh environment. Surprisingly, some crocodiles still survive here. They were stranded in this area when the river stopped flowing. Crocodiles need warm sun and cool water to regulate their body temperature. But these shallow pools are lukewarm, so the crocodiles have devised an ingenious way to lower their temperature. They have dug caves in the dry riverbank, where it is 10 degrees Celsius cooler than the outside. Crocodiles can walk over land, but they can't cover distance. The next closest water is the Okavango Delta, 80 miles to the north. Too far for these short-legged reptiles, making them long-term prisoners of the Boteti. But over the years of drought, these crocodiles have not only learned how to keep cool, they have completely changed their hunting behavior. They now focus on an unlikely food source. Huge flocks of quilias converge on the Boteti pools. Strength in numbers is a popular strategy, but sometimes flocking is deadly. The birds are also thirsty, and they descend on the water's edge in force. The collective weight of the tiny bodies bent the reeds, pushing some of the quilias into the water. The crocodiles persist and eventually make a full meal of the tiny birds. Waterlogged survivors paddle for the shore. But a lurking marabou is waiting to pick them off. Evaporation is at its highest now, and the pools are becoming muddy shallows. For one female zebra, the situation is becoming increasingly desperate. She's early in her pregnancy, and she'll eventually need fresh green grass to supply her unborn calf with milk when it arrives. Water along the Boteti is so scarce that every pool is a sought-after commodity. Elephants are clever in their use of the precious water. When they drink, they don't waste. They step carefully into the pool to avoid lifting the mud from the shallows. They need 250 liters a day, so they have to think ahead. They move further down the dry riverbed. The elephants create mud by stirring up the water with their feet. The mud cools them and gets rid of parasites. But it's sometimes difficult for them to haul themselves out. last part of their daily routine is a sand bath. A sprinkle of fine sand cements the mud and provides protection from the sun. Unlike most of the other animals, these elephants can range into the adjacent desert to find nutritious food. They hunt down certain twigs and barks that nourish their huge frames. But their favorite parts are the leaves. At first glance, the foliage of this winter wilderness seems barren. But acacias have a way of drawing every drop of moisture from the soil to keep their tiny leaves alive. Sooner or later, though, the herd will have to return to the river, and sometimes they roam further than they intended. They get thirsty and have to run back. But the waterhole is overcrowded. Every animal needs to drink. The pregnant mare is in the queue, patiently waiting for access. The front ranks become agitated and churn the water into mud. This sounds the alarm for the elephants. They know that this water needs to be saved, but churning it into mud will mean far less to drink. Eventually they take charge. They cannot let the unruly zebra destroy this precious water. More and more zebra come to drink at the river. But the stagnant pools have a welcoming committee. The vultures have worked out that every animal in need of water has to come to the Badetti, right to them. They know many are already on the verge of death. All they have to do is wait. Jackals are clever. They follow the throng of scavengers. There may be something in it for them. Eventually their patience is rewarded as a zebra collapses. Like the stranded crocodiles, hippos are also heavily reliant on water. And this, their last polluted pool, is drying and hardening. In the cool of the night, they're free to feed in the surrounding scrub. But when morning comes, they have to return to the cool of their last wallow, hoping that there's enough mud to coat their sensitive skins. This remaining pod hasn't raised young for years. All calves are killed immediately at birth by the pod male. There just isn't room for one more. The hippos are also long-term Boteti inmates. Another season like this, and they'll be cemented in their muddy tomb forever. By mid-morning, the scavengers have reduced the fallen zebra to a pile of skin and bones. One creature's famine is another's feast, and the jackals join in. They've left their territories out in the desert. But like a Cold War meeting in no man's land, this encounter is not friendly. They compete with each other for every bite. Well developed at birth and is following its mother within an hour. By 3 months, it will start to drink water and eat grass. Intruders aren't tolerated. The foal's mother chases off any lost foals. She needs to watch her new charge closely. Being lost here isn't wise. The lions have been waiting patiently for the herds to arrive. The mother has kept her foals safe. The pride join the hunter, and they finish the meal quickly. A small foal doesn't take long. As the weeks pass on the Mahadi plains, the foal follows her mother everywhere, moving with the herd from grass to water. Life is much easier for the jackals now, too. But this water is only temporary. The jackals know they have to make the most of summer. Shadowing the lions is their #1 priority. Meanwhile, the foal's mother has carelessly dropped her guard. The jackals are hot on the lion's heels. The lionesses have gone to fetch the cubs, while the male secures the kill. For the scavengers, now is the time to strike. The vulture's plan is to intimidate the predator. But this ploy doesn't work on the big male lion. He has his hands full keeping control of the kill. The jackals are always waiting for a gap. But facing the lion isn't an option. Eventually, he sneaks a piece, just before the lionesses reappear. They'd left their 2-month-old cubs in the den during the hunt, and now they lead them back to the kill. One of the lionesses tests the father's mood before allowing the cubs near. A swipe from his powerful paw could cause a serious injury. But he seems willing to share his meal, and he allows the family to approach. The cubs aren't so sure. For the zebra foal, the tragic death of its mother is a huge loss. But for the lion family, it's a windfall. This carcass will keep them fed for a week. When the cubs have tried a little meat, they revert to playing. For the lions, it's been a successful day.